Indie Comics Deep Dive with Mona and Sam. Welcome back to Indie Comics Deep Dive with Mona and me, Sam. Today, we're diving into a listener request.
Ooh, fun.
Section 12, Antarctic Special number 1.
Ah.
Before we get started, quick heads up.
Yeah.
Spoilers are coming.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to experience this story fresh, grab a copy of the comic and come back later.
Do it.
We're only covering the first issue in this 3-issue mini-series today, but trust me, you're going to want to hear about the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Speaking of wanting more,
Uh-huh.
don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next 2 parts.
Yes, and don't forget to check out our show notes for where you can pick up your own copy.
Yes.
But let's get into this first issue.
Okay.
Even before we open the first page, what's so intriguing about this series is how it all began.
Yeah.
It wasn't a boardroom meeting or a marketing scheme.
Right.
It was a simple social media challenge.
Yeah.
Ben Dunn of Antarctic Press threw out this question.
Uh-huh.
How do you defeat Supergirl without kryptonite?
Oh, that's a classic comic book dilemma.
It is.
How do you make a story interesting when your hero is practically invincible?
Exactly. And that's where Len Mihalovich, the creator of Section 12, saw an opportunity. He realized Antarctic Press had a character, Tomorrow Girl, who shared those same powers and vulnerabilities.
Uh-huh.
He saw the potential for a fun, creator-driven crossover.
So instead of like the big universe-shattering events we see from the major publishers,
Yeah.
this is more like 2 indie creators saying, hey, let's see what happens when our characters meet.
That's the beauty of indie comics. What started as a simple idea for a short story in
Yeah.
Section 12 Lost Adventures,
Uh-huh.
which already had some indie crossover history,
Oh,
turned into a 60-page epic.
wow.
That's how we got the Section 12 Antarctic Special miniseries.
And that's the mini-series we're diving into today.
Yes.
Issue number 1 kicks off with a bang,
Yeah.
dropping us right into Tomorrow Girl's world, the Superverse.
Yes.
She's battling these giant robots in its classic superhero action. But here's where things get interesting. The battle is a trap.
Oh.
Orchestrated by the villainous Professor Von Zoot. And he's known for his cunning and his love of chaos.
Len is having fun with the idea of connected universes.
Okay?
By introducing an evil twin of Von Zoot in the Superverse.
Okay, that's pretty clever.
Yeah.
But what does Von Zoot hope to achieve by trapping Tomorrow Girl?
He's trying to remove the one obstacle standing in the way of his robot army taking over.
Okay.
Remember, she's basically invulnerable.
Right.
He can't just kill her. So he comes up with this elaborate plan to transport her across time and dimensions.
And where does he send her?
Well,
1994, Washington, D.C.
that's right.
The world is Section 12. Talk about bad luck.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's disoriented and wants to get home.
Yeah.
But of course, her heroic instincts kick in.
Right. She encounters one of Von Zoot's robots that followed her through the portal and saves a group of people.
Of course.
And as luck would have it, a reporter named Julie Arden is there to capture the whole thing.
And Julie Arden is not just any reporter.
No?
Fans might remember her from Section 12 Declassified.
Oh, yeah.
She's got a knack for sensationalizing stories.
That's right.
And she doesn't waste any time getting Tomorrow Girl to spill her origin story.
Right, and Julie always looking for that attention-grabbing headline twists Tomorrow Girl's words to make her look like a potential threat.
Meanwhile, back at Section 12 headquarters,
Okay.
director Whitney Thorne and her team,
Yeah.
watching this unfold on the news, and Whitney, always the strategist, starts formulating a plan to contain the situation.
But containing a superhuman like Tomorrow Girl is no easy feat. So Tomorrow Girl is stuck in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to get back home while being hunted by a secret government organization, all thanks to a manipulative reporter.
Right.
This is where we get our first glimpse of the creative team's visual ingenuity.
They've brought together 2 artists, Phil Miller, who handles the Section 12 scenes, and Antonio Reda, who draws the Superverse scenes to blend 2 distinct styles. The classic Silver Age aesthetic for Section 12, and an American manga style for the Superverse.
It's a bold choice, visually dividing the book between 2 worlds.
It is.
You don't often see that in mainstream comics, let alone an indie crossover.
Right.
And it's not just about different styles, it's about contrasting the feel of these 2 worlds.
Yeah.
The grounded realism of Section 12 versus the high-energy dynamic world of Tomorrow Girl.
Exactly. It emphasizes just how out of her element Tomorrow Girl is.
Yeah.
And that's just one layer of the visual storytelling at work here.
Oh, you know what else I love about Len's work?
What's that?
The Easter eggs.
Oh, yeah.
He's always hiding fun details for dedicated readers.
Absolutely.
There's some great ones in this issue. Remember the newspaper Tomorrow Girl finds?
Yeah.
In that alley, the National Explorer?
Oh, yeah.
The same one that Julie works for.
Yeah.
It's not just a fun Easter egg.
Right.
It highlights how media shapes public perception in this world.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow Girl is immediately judged based on Julie's narrative.
Right.
Before anyone even tries to understand her.
And that's a problem we see, in real life as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Media can really shape the way we see things.
Speaking of looking beyond the surface.
Okay.
There's a couple other Easter eggs here.
Right.
What else?
Well, remember Professor Von Zoot, the one who sent Tomorrow Girl to the Section 12 universe? Well, it turns out this Von Zoot is actually the evil twin of another Von Zoot from Fantastic Fanboys Adventures #1.
Well, wait, so the writer is bringing in characters from his other comics. That's like metafiction squared.
Exactly. And it adds this whole other dimension to Professor Von Zoot. He's not just some one-dimensional bad guy. He's got this backstory, maybe even some unresolved issues with his twin brother. It makes you wonder if there's more to his motivations than just getting rid of Tomorrow Girl.
Okay, now I'm really picturing a whole Von Zoot twins spin-off series, right? And the setting itself is an Easter egg of sorts.
Okay, this one's interesting. So you know how Tomorrow Girl ends up in Washington, D.C., right? Well, that wasn't always the plan. Len considered other cities like St. Louis, even Las Vegas. But after a recent trip to D.C., where he took a bunch of reference photos, he decided D.C. would just be more visually engaging, You got the Washington Monument, the National Mall, all these iconic landmarks that add this sense of familiarity and grandeur to the story.
Because he had recently visited the city.
Okay.
And his daughter graduated on the National Mall.
Oh, wow.
It adds a personal touch to the story, grounding those fantastical
That's nice.
elements in a real-world experience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. Like, even these wild comic book worlds
Right.
are created by real people
Yes.
with their own stories.
That's a good point.
And then there's the more overt Easter eggs, like Julie Arden herself, who we know is a key character from Section 12 Declassified.
Right.
And we even get a nod to her previous attempt to expose the Section 12 project.
Oh.
In Section 12 Flashback issue #2.
Oh, wow.
So it's all these layers of continuity rewarding these dedicated fans.
I love that.
It's clear that Len Mihaljevic is having fun with this crossover.
He is.
But he's also crafting a story that speaks to these larger themes. He's not just throwing these characters together for a random fight.
Yeah.
He's exploring how they react to a world that's both familiar and utterly alien.
Right.
And I think that's a really cool concept. Speaking of the reading experience, we haven't even touched on the art style. And this is where things get really, really interesting.
This comic takes a really unique approach to its visuals. It uses 2 distinct art styles to represent the different worlds of the characters.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So for the Section 12 universe, they went with a more traditional comic book style, which fits the series' overall look. But when the story shifts to the Superverse, Tomorrow Girl's home, the art style completely transforms into this, American manga style.
American manga. I like the sound of that. Can you break that down a bit more for those who might not be familiar?
So American manga, it blends elements of traditional Japanese manga with Western comic book aesthetics. So you'll see things like dynamic action poses, exaggerated expressions, those big expressive eyes that manga is laid for. But it's all done with this Western sensibility when it comes to panel layouts and coloring.
Okay, I got it. So why go through all the effort of switching art styles? Why not just stick with one look for the whole comic?
Well, it would have been easier for sure, but Len and the artist Phil Miller, they really wanted to create this different visual experience for the reader. They wanted you to feel like you're stepping into a whole other world when you encounter the Superverse. This artistic shift really emphasizes the contrast between these two worlds.
So it's not just a visual gimmick. It's adding to the story.
Yeah.
It's like they're using the art to reinforce the idea of these separate realities colliding.
Exactly. And it makes for a much more immersive reading experience. You're not just reading the story, you're experiencing the shift in dimensions through the art.
That's a great point. So logistically, how did they even pull this off? Did they have 2 different artists working on the same book?
Yep. They brought in Antonio Reda, who specializes in American manga, to handle all the Superverse sequences. They actually had a bunch of artists apply.
So they held auditions for the art style. That's dedication.
Definitely. They wanted to make sure the style was consistent and really captured the essence of Tomorrow Girl's world. And we can't forget the colorist Korea Pillai.
And of course, Len Mihaljevic.
Absolutely.
They did an incredible job.
Amazing work.
It sounds like they really put a lot of care into making this crossover feel special. So how did these artists collaborate? Did their styles clash at all, or did they influence each other?
Those are great questions.
Yeah.
But I think we need to save those for our next deep dive, because remember, we're just focusing on issue number 1 here. But I promise we'll get into all of that when we talk about issue number 2.
Okay. You've got me hooked. But before we wrap up this section, can you tell our listeners where they can snag a copy of this comic?
Absolutely. You can find Section 12, Antarctic Special number 1, on a few different sites. Lenovationspress.com, IndiePlanet, DriveThruComics.com. And don't forget, this is just the first issue of a 3-issue miniseries.
That's right. And if you want to check out more of Lenovations Press's work, like Section 12, Flashback, and Section 12, Declassified, you can actually read the first issues of those series online for free at Lenovationspress.com. And for some behind-the-scenes goodness, join the Lenovations Press Patreon. We'll put links to all of that in the show notes.
And hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive, hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. It really helps other comic book fans find the show.
And be sure to join us for our deep dives into issues number 2 and 3.
Oh, yes.
As we continue to explore this incredible crossover event.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep exploring the amazing world of indie comics.
And let us know what you think of this issue.
Yes, leave us your comments.
What are your theories?
What are your predictions?
What do you think is going to happen next?
We'd love to hear from you.
We'll catch you next time on Indie Comics Deep Dive with Mona and Sam.
Bye. Oh, this just in. Antarctic Press is reprinting this very mini-series.
Section 12, Antarctic Special.
Keep an eye out in comic stores.
In June of 2025.
And it'll be part of Tomorrow Girl issue number 13.
Wonderful news for anyone who wants to grab a copy.